I'm Chris Story, and you are listening to Alaska Real Estate Podcast, courtesy of the Alaska Association of Realtors, of which I are one. Hope you have a good day. It's going to be a great week. It really is. I have this feeling that this week in January is going to be a defining week in your life. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I feel it. I know it's going to be awesome for you. And if you listen to this podcast all the way through, you're going to meet Dr. Tracy Weiland, author, speaker, international thought leader. Her newest book is Employed for Life. Now, she's going to be on the program today. It's a little bit longer format, but I'm encouraging you to listen to it not once, maybe twice. Give it a listen. She's a great person. I'm going to have her back. No doubt she will be back to the podcast. And if you're so inclined, reach out and make a connection with her. She's also a coach and just awesome. You'll hear. First, I want to say thank you to Alaska USA Title Agency, Crystal Patola and her whole team all around Alaska. There's a reason they're growing. There's a reason more and more people are saying, you know what, I want to close through Alaska USA Title Agency. In Soldotna, Barbara Ramondino is holding that bar high. In fact, the Kenai Peninsula Association of Realtors named her Affiliate of the Year 2013. Congratulations to Barbara and everybody at Alaska USA Title Agency. You can find them online, akusatitle.com, akusatitle.com. And I also want to say thank you to Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. AHFC really is your partner in Alaska real estate. In every corner of Alaska, you're going to find AHFC's left their mark, the mark of affordability, safe housing, efficient housing. It's what they do. Remember, keep up with that energy rebate program as well. It's real easy. akrebate.com. akrebate.com. Their traditional or regular website is ahfc.us. And I just want to say thank you, Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. You really do put a great face on real estate in Alaska. Now, please help me welcome Dr. Tracy Weiland.
Of all the places I've been in the United States, Alaska's been a highlight and just beautiful.
So you've been to Alaska before. What brought you up here?
You know, just sheer interest in the beauty, and the first time I went up, I flew into Anchorage, and with some friends, we drove over 4th of July weekend. Our philosophy was the sun would never set. Just drove to Homer and kind of just slept wherever. It was very safe at that time, and never went to sleep, so to speak. And then I said, I have to go back. And then I went back with my husband later on, and we kind of did the cruise because I wanted to see, the water and out in different areas. But it's great. In fact, I was just telling Brendan over at the station that, if I can connect with the universities, I would offer to do graduation speeches up there because I'm getting a lot of requests right now for graduation speeches, and I never thought about Alaska universities because they may need somebody.
About when was that, when you did the midnight tour all the way down to Homer?
So at that time, let's say I was working at Apple. So that was in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And, it was a while ago.
It's still safe, by the way. It's still safe here, by the way.
Is it? I don't know. We didn't think about a thing. We just drove, and then we said, well, we don't even need to get a room because wherever we stop, it doesn't matter. It's always daylight, and we'll just sleep on. We slept on a glacier one night. We just we were crazy.
Oh, that's cool.
Homer was just beautiful. Some of my friends went fishing. I'm not a big fisher person. I just wanted to go see the beautiful landscape in the water, but some people said it was just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's world-class fishing, no doubt. And your resume, you mentioned you worked at Apple at that time, includes Apple, HP, Cisco, the Apollo Group. Can you tell me a little bit about what did you do for Apple, and who was probably the coolest person you met while working there?
Oh, absolutely. So I worked in Apple. This is the period of time after Steve Jobs when Scully came in. So the company was at that transition point, and I think a lot of people understand now because you've probably seen the movie. Jobs. And so that was that transition. So the company was still very pro-jobs, but at the same time they lost him, and it was a little bit on the downside. But it was the most exciting company I ever joined because coming from New York, which was very traditional firms, I had never experienced anything like Apple. You know, the first thing they did is they told me to stop wearing a suit and go buy some jeans, and Levi jeans, because they're made in San Francisco, was, you know, sort of what people were doing. And have beer on Fridays, because that's how you innovate and collaborate and mingle. And it was a different excitement for me that I had never experienced in the workplace before. Cool people, you know, there were a lot of cool people at Apple. That, you know, I can't really single out one, because I didn't have the opportunity to meet Steve Jobs. I did have the opportunity to meet John Couch. He was the founder of the Lisa, and so that was pretty neat for people who know computer history.
Oh, that's one of the very original PCs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Woz would come in and give talks. And, you know, in retrospect, you say, wow, that was impressive. And even just getting to know John Sculley. John Sculley actually gave me a testimonial on, you know, like a book cover quote on one of my first books. So I was pretty excited about that, because, I couldn't believe that a CEO of a company would be so supportive of an individual in a company and some of my work. So I definitely saw the benefits of some of the newer age companies. Now, of course, there's newer age companies like Facebook and Google, and, you know, but that was pretty exciting at that time.
Your new book coming out, we should talk about that, Employed for Life, 21st Century Career Trends, and that's going to be released sometime this year. What does it mean to be employed for life? What does that mean?
Well, yeah, so Chris, it's such a reality today that people are living longer, and as a result of that, your work span is longer. I mean, many of our parents thought that they would, you know, live to maybe 70s or 80s, and they would work at most 25 to 30 years. And now the reality today is that people are living to 100, and projections are that that will even extend. And so the work span is extended to like 50 years, and some people, you know, 60 years. Plus, you have the reality that a lot of people didn't plan for retirement. The American dream of, you know, being able to own a home has shifted now to being able to afford retirement. And so people have to think about more how to stay employed for life. And
just before, and I really want to talk to you about technology too. I think that's one of your strengths in your speaking and your writing and your career is using technology in your career. And it's funny, just before you and I were to get together here, the executive producer of this program called me and said the podcast that I had just released, and she was about to send out to all of our statewide members, had in the opening slide, I had misspelled the word Alaska. Which is just, how do you do that? Well, nevertheless, I'm scrambling. I'm answering a couple of emails. I'm sending out listings to prospective buyers in California, one in Pittsburgh and one down in, I think, Louisiana. And I'm fixing the podcast while it's saving up to YouTube. I'm also talking to another one of my agents about a potential listing that she's working on. And I'm saying to myself, Tracy, I couldn't have done any or a fraction of these things in the same amount of time without all of this technology. And you know what? It isn't just the agents. It isn't just you selling and writing books and speaking and all of that. It's the buyers, our home buyers, and the consumers of our products are using these technologies as well. I just can't imagine doing this job without it.
Oh, absolutely. You know, because I've bought now 2 places in my life. And the first experience was horrific because there was no technology. The second experience was profound because, one, I bought it long distance, and because of that technology, tools were critical for me to buy a house, or really it's a condo. And what was amazing was that how many tools were available, how connected the realtor was, thank goodness. And, I was able to buy this long distance, and I really appreciate that because it would have been horrible to have to keep, commuting down from Northern California to Southern California.
And so all of these tools and technologies, we know that most people start their home search online. We know that most realtors and buyers and sellers are communicating back and forth, just as you said. It's what a revelation to be able to stay so connected to your clients. But whom are you connecting to, and how do you keep humanity? How do you keep you in the game when there's so much technology we're interfacing with? Any advice there?
Well, when I think about the real estate, because I was reflecting on buying this place, and number one, the technology, I think, shortens the time to buy. So I think that's a positive for the realtor and a positive for the buyer. I went out and looked at the databases online to be able to narrow into a region and then a neighborhood and actually to actual streets that I wanted to target. And that replaced all of that time of a realtor taking me around neighborhoods, driving me around, walking me through the units. So I think technology's benefit is really efficiency for both the seller and the buyer and the real estate agent. And so that's just, one area where I think, it's a real plus. And so being able to find the tools, I experimented with a couple, and then eventually you settle in one that seems to be user-friendly or work for you.
In your book, Employed for Life, is there, who is that written for? Is that written for did you have a particular career path-minded type person, or is it specific to any particular industry? Actually,
and that's a great question, Chris, because it is a 360-degree look at careers in the 21st century. First, I talked to HR executives at firms because there was transition happening in the workforce. There's 3 generations in the workforce. The 3 generations are very different. Second, I talked to people looking for jobs because at that time, right, there's a lot of people looking for jobs, and they wanted to understand how technology could help them look for jobs, but also how technology knowledge could help them benefit them in getting jobs. Then the third area I explored was the recruiting industry because a lot of people had confusion about what do recruiters do, how can they help or do they not help. And then I also talked to people who found jobs and said, tell me the secret sauce of how you find a job. And then, of course, hiring managers. So it's really for the corporate side as well as the employee side, as well as somebody who maybe doesn't have a job today or is looking to transition, and the need to know is there.
Excellent. Well, that sounds fascinating. Of course, the book is available wherever books are sold. When, it says here it's going to be released in 2014. About when?
January 15th. So we're a couple of days away. I see they already posted it up on Amazon. I posted it on my website. So, it's this month, and it's very exciting.
You're talking to realtors, and a big part of our job is writing. We have to write compelling text and compelling information about a home, but also about an area where we're specifically marketing, and we need to be compelling in our writing. Would you mind sharing a couple of tips, if any come to the top of your head, about how to make your writing and improve those skills and make your writing more compelling?
That's a really interesting question because I was reading all of the communication boards by realtors, and it was very interesting. A lot of realtors were investing in a part-time virtual assistant and someone who specializes in marketing social media. And I thought that was interesting because I myself have made that same investment for my business because I said, my community is not only, in person and meeting with corporate executives. I have a large community that reads social media, comes to the website, really wants compelling information about me and what I talk about, the books. And you know what? I'm not so good at it. I can do the basics because I'm a corporate person. I tend to do bullets. So that's one area that either you learn it, and it's, I went down to Microsoft to learn how to, construct websites and social media tools. But there's this other whole stream of people who are saying, you know what? The younger generation is really skilled at this, or you might have marketing people who are retired who are very skilled at this. Think about a virtual assistant. So I think that's one area. Number 2 is, so if you don't know technology, right, and I come from a very classical background. I did not know technology. I was forced into it, thankfully, by moving to Silicon Valley. Pick a tool that's useful for you. So when I was teaching, which I did a lot of teaching at night and on weekends, my students wanted more videos. And so I taught myself how to create videos. And they thought that that was so compelling that they also, they would say, hey, Tracy, less of you, more of those great videos. but it had a meaning for me. And I think for realtors, you say, okay, sales will probably, or at least communication to potential buyers, will probably increase if I learn how to do social media or if I learn how to, create compelling websites. So, I would say pick a technology that motivates you and go out and try to learn it.
That's great advice. And I guess one last point, I'd love to hear from you, because you're obviously, to have authored and published 11 books, to have worked in the corporate environment where you've obviously succeeded, and to have worked in Stanford and so forth. I mean, you've obviously mastered the art of organization, and that's not necessarily something that goes hand in hand with a salesperson. Now, I'm not talking about all salespeople. Some salespeople are really uber oriented towards organization, and others just aren't. And so, again, I guess one point would be virtual assistants can help with that. But any other tools or special advice that you'd give to somebody just to become, as we enter this new year, definitely oriented towards organization?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, because actually I started my career in sales, and that's where I actually learned the discipline of organization, because the quotas, right, you had to make your quota. And I said, this is a numbers game. How many phone calls and appointments do I need to do per day to be able to make the quota or exceed the quota? And so I actually developed a discipline at that time of how do I shorten now the sales call, right, to get to the money. And I took that philosophy and brought it out with me to my new work environment. And there I learned the skills of project management. And that's really just learning how to prioritize. You know, what are the 3 things you need to get done today? Or what are the 5 goals you have this month? You know, I'm big on chunking up time. Okay, now if I have these 5 goals, what are the steps to get there? And I love making lists. And then you can check off and feel really good about checking things off your list. And what you'll find is once you write down your goals and all the activities and the tasks associated with the goals, it actually moves along a lot quicker than swirling in your head, oh my God, I got to do this, 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 and this, and this. And then once you have a system, replicate it. Okay, so you know how to sell a house, or you know how to do certain activities. Okay, and then you've streamline the time, so now just keep replicating the model over and over again.
Thank you so much for your expertise and your time. Oh, real quick, what were you selling? You said you started your career out as a salesperson. What were you selling?
I actually sold advertising space for magazines, such as Vogue magazine was one of the early magazines I worked for. And, you know, the industry has certainly changed, but it's all about, you know, numbers and making quotas. And it was a great experience, really. And then at Apple, I transitioned into manufacturing, which was a complete flip of career, but it helps you understand the other side of the business, the cost side of the business, the sales side and the cost side. So I thought that those types of experiences helped me to be able to one day say, I can set up shop on my own because I understand a lot of the fundamentals. So it was, both were, you know, very worthwhile experiences.
Like us realtors, you're waking up unemployed every day. I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Weiland.
Thank you.
You can pick up your copy of Employed for Life today. Do it. Now, Tiff and I ordered for our daughter Zoe. She's 18, by the way, Zoe, and getting ready to leave the house. And so we picked up Dr. Weiland's book, Women Lead. So I encourage you to look at her website. You can visit her online, TracyWeiland.com. That's one L in Weiland, TracyWeiland.com. Look her up, check out her website, and if so inspired, pick up one of her books. Great author. Well, that's it for this edition of Alaska Real Estate. Sandy Erdman's your executive producer. For all of us here at Alaska Real Estate Podcast, I'm Chris Story, wishing you health, wealth, and prosperity.